welcome to another episode of the Peer2Peer podcast, brought to you by Rayner. I'm your host, Prof Paul Ursell, and in this special episode, we'll focus a little bit more on the business side of ophthalmology and get under the bonnet of the recent acquisition of Rayner, of this AIG, and the new Sophi phaco machine they bought. I'm delighted to say joining me are Tim Clover, who's the Chief Exec of Rayner, and Thomas Koppel, who is the Vice President of R&D for Sophi and the Managing Director of this, who Rayner bought. So we're going to look into the details of what happened, how this went on, what this means for us as ophthalmologists, and what this means for Rayner and the rest of the world. So congratulations, guys. Well done on a really good acquisition. And let's get started. So if I could start with you, Thomas. Tell me a little bit about this. I've not heard of this AIG. Talk to me through your journey as to where you came from, who you are, how you got to here, and how you started developing Sophi.
Yeah. Hello, Paul. Nice to meet you, and thank you for this interview. I live here in Switzerland, in the border to Austria and Germany. And between 2006 to 2014, I worked as international project leader in electronics, plastic molding, and also in medtech devices. And at this time, I have a lot of new ideas for ophthalmology, how to do it, but it was never the focus to do it. And so I observed that no company realized my ideas in this time. So if you're thinking about that, then probably it has also to change. Then I've checked about 200 patents, and I had the chance to found the company AIG then afterwards. And this comes then to a human-centered device. The human is in the middle of the theater. Not the device is important, the surgeon is important that he can do a good work in a very efficient way. And we bring also something like a lean production in the OR. And this was then the starting point to make the Sophi.
Wow, that sounds amazing. That's amazing. How long did it take you to develop it?
After 4 or 5 years, we had all together, and the approval was then also very close in 2019, February 2019, we had the certification from TÜV Süd, and this was a great starting point to go ahead.
So it's been in production and being sold and used in Europe already?
Yes, we started then in different countries. We have built up in these 10 years. We are now 55 distributors worldwide.
That sounds great. Okay, thank you, Thomas. Tim, I mean, I think it's obvious to see why Rayner, who make brilliant IOLs, would buy a phaco machine. But talk us through your philosophy as to why this AIG, why Sophi, why did you buy this one? If I was going to buy a phaco company, I'm not a chief exec, but if I was, why would I buy this one?
Thanks, Paul. So actually, I've known Thomas for the whole 5 years they've been trading. I think probably for most of those 5 years, I was trying to convince Thomas to sell the company to us. So it's kind of nice to be on this podcast eventually, sort of following the transaction. I'm really happy with the development of Rayner over the previous years, and we've reached a size now, I think, where something like this is an obvious next step. So you're quite right. The question is why? For the last 5 years, I think, we've been undertaking quite an intense screening of the market to look at technology. I'd like to think that at Rayner, one of the things we do really well is science, and that we do that in partnership with surgeons. So Paul, I mean, virtually every single one of the products we've ever launched has originated from a great idea from a surgeon. It's kind of what we do. It's what we did 75 years ago with Sir Harold Ridley, and we keep trying to play that business model. And what we saw in Sophi was really quite a unique product. We saw incredibly high quality. We saw Thomas and his team, who are group of great scientists and engineers focused on a problem. We saw a product that had been developed using surgeons and fast feedback loops, and honestly came to the opinion that it was the best machine technically on the market today. And therefore, it made perfect sense to link that with with Rayner. It also, despite being relatively unknown, and I think even Thomas will accept me saying this, there was a very, very strong focus on the science and the technology, and probably less on the commercial side of the business. Despite that, there's several hundred currently in use in an installed base. So it gave us the ability to talk to surgeons who use Sophi and understand the great feedback that they were giving us. You'd be surprised, about 50% of the market today, we think, differs country to country, but about 50% of the IOLs that are sold today are sold through bundles with phaco machines. So for Rayner, this really gives us the platform for the next chapter of growth in the company's history.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. I mean, I've been involved in so many IOL tenders and acquisitions, and the relationship between the IOL and the phaco machine is pretty strong commercially. It's interesting. It's a 5-year engagement, and then you finally got to the steps of the altar. It's brilliant.
It's probably annoying you at some time, Thomas, because every year CRS would meet up and I'd say, come on, surely we've got to put these two companies together. At some point, we've got to do this.
Thomas, that feels nice. I mean, talk to me about, I mean, what is Sophi? Does it stand for anything? That's what I want to know.
Yes.
And tell me about the machine.
Yeah, Sophi, this is also an abbreviation from Swiss Ophthalmology Innovation. Swissness is the quality itself, a sign of quality. Ophthalmology I must not explain here. And the innovation is also so important that it gives us the right to be here. And this was also the meaning that we make something new that doesn't exist. And one very important point was that the usability should be better than in other devices. As we started, there were a lot of devices still on the market, but I think we have done a very modern and unique design, and we had also the first and the only that is complete wireless wireless device on the market. This is a big point. Also the easy move without annoying cables. Every setup in the OR is possible, very small design. Then also as we started in 2018, we were the second device on the market with the active infusion. This is also a very, very big step, I think, because the cable stability is unique. We can compensate the pressure loss about the cables and have very stable chambers in the eye, and this is a big step forward, and it gives also clear cornea post-operative. And we have also this unique pump system with 3 real existing pump systems for active infusion, peristaltic, and also for aspiration and the clean Venturi aspiration. And there are really 3 pumps that fits perfect together and makes a great job.
Cool. So talk to me. I mean, 3 pumps. I got in, I got out. What's the third one do?
Yeah, we have 1 in, and this is the active infusion. A lot of competitors have still gravitation infusion, and with the active infusion, we can compensate some pressure loss on the tubes and also recognize some failures. And the peristaltic aspiration and the clean Venturi aspiration is also a big advantage. By the clean Venturi, we have also a foil between the patient liquid and the device, so a cross-contamination between the patient and device is not possible. And
yeah, cool. Thank you. That's great. Tim, so as an ophthalmologist, what am I going to see from Rayner as a consequence of it?
Well, you would forgive me for saying this, but I think we have amongst, if not the best IOLs on the market today. The performance of the trifocal and EMV are, way outstripping what we know are the growth rates of other companies. But I guess if you're a surgeon and you have a bundled agreement to have your phaco machine in the OR, and that's the way you prefer to purchase products, then this gives you the opportunity to be able to use Rayner IOLs and have a state-of-the-art phaco machine at the same time. So, we're really excited about opening up that part of the market, which has been closed for us for a long time. Beyond that, for me, the big opportunity here is in professional education. So it's actually quite hard to set up wet labs and clinical education symposia when you don't have a phaco machine in your portfolio. It's probably not something you think about, but the phacos are the heart of everything that you're doing as a surgeon, right? So if we want to try and develop that, those teaching and educational seminar, it's very hard to do that with somebody else's phaco machine. So I think in the coming years, what you'll see is a sort of bigger profile for Rayner in the clinical science arena. About 4 years ago, we started a department called Eye Science. It's been the fastest growing part of Rayner, and as well as undertake the 2 FDA studies we're currently enrolling and the NMPA study we're enrolling, they're also involved in professional education and furthering, I guess, the use of our products through clinical science. So I hope that having Sophi in the portfolio of products enables us to be able to invest more significantly in that area, which I think is good for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly see how the whole phaco cataract surgery world from the commercial side is coalescing in terms of the machines and the instrument packs and the IOLs. They are sort of merging together, and I think and Rayner is, you can just see the dynamism and the drive that's happening at Rayner. It's going from strength to strength, and this really does fulfill that prophecy and fit part of that portfolio that you're putting together. It's a really cool thing to see.
Well, it's really nice of you to say so. And you know, we did this acquisition. I think it was the 17th of January we closed. In February, I was at the APAO in Bali, and Sophi had bought a booth space and Rayner had bought a booth space. And rather than just have the two companies separately, we combined onto the Rayner booth space. We converted the Sophi one onto a wet lab, a sort of interactive wet lab during the exhibition. And I have to say, that was by far the busiest stand. I mean, people were queuing to use the product, and it just makes you realize, you know, sometimes we go to ESCRS and big shows like this and we're all handing out brochures, but actually it's the experience that people want. It's the experiential impact of using these things, and that's what we'd like to try and strengthen in the coming years.
Yeah, us surgeons, we're pretty basic. We like to just get our hands on things. So.
Hardly.
I mean, just coming on from that, Thomas, I mean, I'm using it. I mean, the thing about a phaco machine, without being rude, is the thing has to work. Otherwise, we're not going to do the list. What's the reliability story and things that you can tell us about Sophi from that perspective?
Quality in general is a big work that you are on a point that it works perfect. And this has from starting of the project, we were in the OR with the carton model and check the usability, that the screen is the right size and the right place, and the table is the table size, and all the keys and all the things that it works, that it can build up all the setup. And we have trained that still with the carton model, with the complete OR team, the surgeon, the assistants, and all of them. Then other points are also important, probably the active infusion, the pump system in general. So here we have a lot of surgeons, they underline the post-operative clear cornea, very, very nice results the day after. Then this is also with the high efficiency of the phaco power, the clean venturi, no contamination. It's very unique, and these are important steps that we can increase the quality, not only for the patient, also for all surgeons and assistants, that they can work in a safe way. We were also in the first percent, they have done the MDR certification. We were from the very starting from the MDR, we are on this label, and this shows also that the quality management system and all these topics, the standards we fulfill, also such not easy task in a very fast and early stage.
I mean, yeah, that sounds fantastic. But just talking about consumers, Tim, I mean, the big thing that's really driving a lot of the debate in ophthalmology at the moment is sustainability. Is there going to be a sustainability consumables story that we can talk about with Sophi?
Yeah, of course. And you know, because you know me, this is a personal, very important factor for me, and you portray that when you run a company. So I don't think Rayner shouts too much about what we do from an environmental perspective, but it's a crucially important part of what we do. So we're part of the ACOS Green Working Group with Mrs. Rampat, and we take what we're saying and doing in that group very seriously. On the IOL side of the business, we will very shortly, if not currently, releasing product that are now more than 50% reduction in single-use plastics. So the old Ray 1 carton that used to have 2 trays, it now only has 1 tray. We've got rid of all IFUs, so we've gone to EIFU. We've reduced the power, that the energy consumption that we use to manufacture the products by more than 30%. And when we look at Sophi, it's a slide rule that we put against any potential acquisition or partnership. So it's important to us that the cassette that the Sophi uses is a day cassette, so it can be reused up to 10 times in a single surgical setting. That in itself reduces a significant amount of plastic waste. The way the system is configured also means the saline bottle can potentially be reused in between cases. So there are sort of several elements to it which enable the surgeon to reduce their waste that comes from cataract surgery, which we know, we all listen to Oliver Findle and the sort of great message that he's been able to espouse at ESCRS, and we all try and do our part to help this. Rayner also, we audit ourselves. Well, we don't audit ourselves. We use a company called EcoVadis to audit us every single year. We're currently ranked silver, which puts us in the top quartile of all companies globally. Something that's really important to the company.
I mean, I totally agree with you. I think that I do quite a bit of work on sustainability myself, and the elephant in the room is a lot of the tubing and the cassettes. And if they can reduce, that's going to be fantastic. I think that's a really, really good thing. I think it'd be really commended, both of you, for developing that. It's really a big step forward for all of us. I mean, going on from the business side of things, I mean, I could buy one if I went to Switzerland. When am I going to get one in the UK?
Well, we're already undertaking evaluations, actually. So when we did this, we thought we'd give ourselves 6 months to do some of the integration work, and we are going to hire a whole team in multiple countries of surgical equipment specialists. We're out hiring now. It's a great opportunity. Let me put a pitch in for recruitment. It's a great opportunity because this is a pillar of a machine with a very small installed base. So, commercially, it's fabulous if you're somebody that's involved in this area. But in fact, we've got the beginnings of that team already. And in fact, in the UK, the machine is currently being evaluated. We have a bunch of demo evaluation machines available. So very, very shortly, someone will be knocking on your door, no doubt, saying, are you interested in trying this, Professor Ursell? And of course, we hope you say yes. Actually, we launched at Winter ESCRS as well as APAO. It'll be at ASCRS in the coming few weeks. We're hoping to take 510K approval this year. So I'm hoping very much to be able to launch in the US next year. It'll be at ESCRS, of course. So lots of opportunities for touch points with the machine. And I would say contact your existing Rayner salesperson, and we'll make sure that somebody comes and sees you and lets you see the machine.
That'd be fantastic. I mean, all the Rayner salespeople are lovely anyway, so that won't be a problem. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much. That's been a really interesting discussion. That was our Peer2Peer podcast. Thank you very much for Thomas Koppel from Sophi, and thank you very much for Tim Clover from Rayner. It's been delightful to talk to you all. Thank you very much.